Hi guys, in this episode we're going to be testing ourselves with some science content for our CBT. So let's get to it. Circle the correct answer for test items 1 to 6. Question 1 says, charge and go stations allow motorists to access dash for their vehicles. Charge and go. So my options are gasoline, diesel oil, and electricity. And the answer I am going with will be electricity. So let me get that one here. Hold a second. All right, so we have electricity there. Let's look at item 2. During the presentation on the environment, Mr. Hansen reminded the attendees that they should pay attention to their carbon footprint. He recommended that motorists purchase motor vehicles that use a special fuel. Which fuel did Mr. Hansen most likely recommend? Is it petrol, gasoline, or electricity? And again, they're going to be talking about electricity. It is believed that all of these here are going to send tons of particles and harmful gases into the atmosphere, while if we're using electricity, we reduce the amount of pollution because we can use, for example, solar, right? So solar panels, we can use wind energy to create electricity. That does not include the harmful effects of gases going into the atmosphere. Okay, let's go to item 3. Which gases are responsible for an increase in carbon footprint? Is it oxygen and carbon dioxide? Is it carbon dioxide and methane, or nitrogen and oxygen? All right, so now it can't be oxygen. We need oxygen to breathe, so that takes that one out and this one out. So carbon footprint would not be increased. Look at the word increased by adding oxygen to the atmosphere. We need oxygen to survive. So any addition of oxygen is not what we're looking for. So if I've done that through the process of elimination, then I'm left with these two here, carbon dioxide and methane. All right, and let us think of carbon dioxide from motor vehicles and trucks and so on, and methane from animals like the cow and pigs. So on large farms, lots of methane is produced on large animal farms. Okay, so producing lots of beef and pork and so on, they can have issues with that. I'm going to leave a video that I saw recently about this methane in the description below, and you can look at that one. Question 4. The amount of carbon dioxide released as a result of human activity is known as carbon footprint, climate change, carbon cycle. All right, so I know it's not the carbon cycle, because the carbon cycle, once you hear cycle, it's like the water cycle, how it moves through from one to another. So that does not describe the footprint. Climate change involves some amount of the changes as it relates to carbon dioxide, but that does not adequately describe carbon footprint. So climate change could be impacted by one's carbon footprint, yes, but carbon footprint is what we want. Okay, so here, so this is a definition. It's known as, we're defining it. Okay, so it's not the carbon cycle, it's not climate climatic change or climate change is the carbon footprint. Item 5. If we sustain the environment, it is likely that there will be an increase in the carbon footprint. If we sustain, will there be an increase in carbon footprint, a balance in the ecosystem, and environmental degradation? No. Just looking at this, it cannot be degradation because that's negative, and it can't be an increase in carbon footprint because that's also negative. So if I sustain, when we're looking at this, we know that sustaining the environment is a positive thing. So I cannot do a positive thing and get here these negative results. So just eliminating those two, I will have here a balance in the ecosystem, and this is the one that we're looking for. All right, item 6. What body part of a cricket vibrates to make a chirping sound? We did this the last time of the cricket, so it's not the eyes and it's not the wings. It would be the legs. Okay, one of the examples we saw would be the bee makes a sound by the wings vibrating. Okay, and that would be called a buzz. Okay, so a buzz. All right, let's see here. It says right through or falls in the space provided. The smaller the carbon footprint, the more carbon dioxide is emitted. Now that's definitely falls here. Okay, so that's a false one there. The elements of climate are similar to weather, and that's true. Okay, that's true. All right, so composting is a natural, and we could put manure. Some people could say a natural fertilizer then, but manure is what is most appropriate here. Okay, fossil fuels include, and some of those that come to mind would be like coal, not charcoal, the coal found in rock form, right? Coal, crude oil, petroleum, and natural gas. Those ones come to mind here, so we'll put those there. Dash surfaces allow light rays to pass through. Okay, so what comes to mind immediately would be transparent. Okay, so transparent surfaces allow light rays to pass through. Now, translucent surfaces allow light rays to pass through too, but scatter them, so the object or the image produced appears blurred. All right, so a little distinction there. Let's go here. It says write the answers on the lines provided. List 3 causes of climate change. Let's see. So we can have, as we said, the methane there with the cows and other farm animals there. CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, like when we have our spray cans and we use those, and our old refrigerators and so on. Yes, and the burning of gases like in trucks and factories and so on. So they use fossil fuels, and that too helps with creating climate change. Let me see any other. Oh, now if we have permafrost melting, right, some of the carbon that is trapped in the ground over time can be released. I think the same thing happens with ice sheets melting. Yeah, and when we have deforestation and trees are burnt, they are natural carbon traps. So if we burn them, all the carbon that was stored in them is now released into the atmosphere. Let's go with item 13. State 3 effects of climate change. So 3 effects of climate change. Let's go with droughts. Okay, so periods of drought are extended, or the dry season becomes longer then. Okay, As a result of the dry season, then we have problems with food security, because we have less water to grow the crops and so on. So less crops, or lower yields for farmers. We have another one that we can think of. Dry season. Okay, so we can think of ice melting, so sea ice melts, and that would lead to rising sea levels. Rising sea levels then could cause flooding in low-lying areas, right, and destruction of habitat for humans and animals in low-lying regions. Okay, so the mangrove areas become flooded with seawater. People who live near to the sea would be displaced. Animals and all of that environment would be disturbed. Okay, let's think of what's happening to the beach in Hellshire, right? So over time, the erosion there is happening, and people were once able to sell on the beach. They're not able to sell on the beach now. Houses that would have been like in Alligator Pond and Treasure Beach, houses that were very close to the sea, those are now no longer fit for living, because they literally in the water, right? So those are some of the effects of climate change. Let's go with item 14. Name 3 luminous organisms. Now remember, the word luminous here has to do with light producing, and organisms, some living creature. So name some living creatures that produce their own light. That's another way of thinking about it. Let's think of the pinywally. Yes, what we call the firefly. Then we have the glowworm, right? And then there's some flashy fungus type thing, right? Number 15, during an experiment, Shelley observed an object by looking through a paper straw. Why was Shelley able to see the object through the straw? All right, that's not hard for us to do. Light from the object bounced to Shelley's eyes, right? And light travels in straight lines. So as long as that straw is straight and we have light being, bouncing from the object, it will pass through the straw. She'll be able to see that as well. Okay, let's go with number 16. Why is light reflected from an object? Let's go. So if it is reflected from an object, that means that the object is not transparent. Because if the object were transparent, then it would not bounce, it would go through, right? And that means that the object itself has the properties that allow for reflection to take place. So it could be shiny and smooth. Okay, so those are some of the considerations for that, for 16. What types of surfaces, 17, scatter light in different directions? So that would be like the wall, which is a surface that is dull and rough. Okay, let's go with this. 18, explain why light rays may be scattered in different directions. Here, surfaces may have tiny bumps. Okay, so if we think of the investigation we did with the ball, so we have our sponge ball or tennis ball, and we bounce the ball on the tiles in the classroom, then the ball comes back up in a nice straight line to us. Okay, and that's giving us the mirror effect, okay, in terms of things coming up back nice and clear. Okay, but if we go outside and bounce it on that area where we have the gravel, okay, one, the ball doesn't come back up to us in the same way it did before, and sometimes based on the angle that the ball takes, it goes in a completely different direction. All right, so there are no two times when we bounce it comes back to up. It may come back, it may go left, it may go right, it goes all over the place. All right, so the surface determines how the reflections come back, or the surface will determine how light will behave. Let's go with number 19. Okay, so explain 2 ways to eliminate noise pollution. Well, first, we can get rid of whatever is making the noise. If it's on, we can turn it off. Okay, let's see. Turn off appliances that are not in use. Turn down the volume. Let's say somebody's having a party down the road, they can turn the volume down. Turn off electronics that are not in use, lower the volume. And then if all else fails, then you can wear like noise cancelling headphones that are electronically capable of reducing the noise that you hear. All right, last one. Why are you able to see an image of a flower in calm water? So we spoke about this last time as well. Because the water is calm, then the surface will be what? Smooth, right? And then this now allows light to be reflected to your eye. But if the water is not calm, and the surface would be then like water, a rough surface, then it will scatter the light rays in different directions, and it will not come back to your eye in the same way as if it were calm. I hope that we were able to follow along and understand some of these concepts for our science CBT. Take care. I'll see you in our next episode. But remember to check the description box below for some of the videos that we spoke of.